Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Milwaukee Judge Hannah Dugan indicted by a federal grand jury. Indicted allegedly helping undocumented individual evade ICE. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a Reason article. Justice Alito dissents. Both the executive and the judiciary have an obligation to follow the law. The Supreme Court is very clear. Justice Alito is very clear in stating that the judiciary also has an obligation to follow the law, not just the executive. Everyone does. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is huge. And check this out. This is unbelievable.
A superpower for long. Senator, we have breaking news on another front that goes right to the heart of the America First agenda. A federal grand jury just indicted that Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan, after she allegedly helped an illegal avoid ICE at her courthouse. Senator, again, promises made, promises kept. Tom Homan, the president, said, look, you interfere with the lawful work of ICE, and we're going to hold you accountable. And it looks like a grand jury, at least for now, it looks like this is serious for this judge.
Yeah, really serious. Well, it's a federal crime. She committed a crime, and I don't know.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to show you this. This is nothing represents or exemplifies.
Look,
nothing. This is the epitome of liberal political philosophy and ideology. Hold on one second.
Interfere with the lawful work of ICE, and we're going to hold you accountable. And it looks like a grand jury, at least for now, it looks like.
Did I just see Abraham Lincoln wearing something he shouldn't be wearing? Let's continue.
This is serious for this judge.
Yeah, really serious. Well, it's a federal crime. She committed a crime, and I don't know about you, but I'm tired of these judges all across the country acting like they're above the law, acting like they are some sort of tin-pot dictators who can sit up there and say, oh, here's what we want to do. I'm going to run the country. I'm going to be president. They're supposed to be following the law, Laura. They're supposed to be adjudicating the law, and they're supposed to be following it as private citizens, and this judge was doing neither. So I'm glad she got indicted. I hope they prosecute this thing all the way through. It is outrageous for a sitting judge to be trying to obstruct justice in the United States of America. That's what this individual was doing. This is a clear message to these judges. Start doing your jobs and quit obstructing the fair implementation of justice in this country.
Yeah, just so everyone remembers what happened, she was actually allegedly escorting illegals out her own courtroom back door to try to, avoid ICE taking custody of them. That's how bad this has gotten. And we have situations with similar, varying, but similar fact patterns in places like Massachusetts. Lord knows how many times this has already happened across the United States. You have the situation in Newark at the ICE facility, Senator, where, everyone's pulling stunts to try to, get on camera and have their viral moments, protecting the worst of the worst there.
So what happened, essentially, what's taking place, ladies and gentlemen, is that Democrats cannot legislate. And hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is huge. The Supreme Court is very clear. Justice Alito has been very clear. And legal precedent is clear. A judge must follow the law, just like everyone else. The Supreme Court is backing Trump on that. The Supreme Court has stated in the initial Alien Enemies Act decision that Trump, the executive branch, gained a huge victory. Judges cannot infringe upon executive branch authority or powers that are stated within the Constitution. That's why when the judge said, well, I want information on those planes, and I want information on the negotiated deal with El Salvador, and I want information, that's foreign policy. Foreign policy, politics is supposed to end at the water's edge. And so when a federal judge is, number one, deciding on what takes place in Texas, a D.C. judge, now after the first Alien Enemies Act decision, has no right to decide what takes place in a deportation hearing in Texas. Okay? So the Democrats can't judge shop anymore. I explained that in my last segment. But the Supreme Court is very clear that judges cannot act as if they were presidents. That's why you're going to get the nationwide injunction ending, that the Supreme Court will back Trump on ending nationwide injunctions, even if very likely they won't back Trump on upending, changing the definition of the 14th Amendment pertaining to birthright citizenship. But that case this week, the oral arguments are taking place, and that case is going to decide two things. One, if the birthright citizenship 14th Amendment viewpoint, remains, and it will. In my view, I think that the Supreme Court will continue with the traditional birthright citizenship viewpoint or precedent, but I do think they're going to side with President Trump on ending nationwide injunctions. The issue, however, is that Democrats, like I said, cannot legislate through Congress because their alleged value system, their policies are not popular. Okay? The average American wants laws enforced. The average American of all demographics wants a safer America with immigration laws enforced. That doesn't mean that people aren't compassionate. They are. But they want immigration laws enforced. Okay? They're in the books for a reason. Democrats signed off on them and voted on them for a reason. They want an end to never-ending military conflict, which is what Trump is working on. And they want a better economy with jobs and manufacturing jobs and the working class and middle class jobs available. Trump with tariffs is working to bring back manufacturing. Okay, but see, the thing is, the Democrats don't want to pass legislation. They don't want to pass legislation allowing undocumented individuals who were potentially committed crimes to remain in the country. They're going to instead, because that would be an outlandish, absurd bill, but it correlates to their alleged value system, which is oftentimes outlandish. Instead, they're going to try to create these public relations stunts you saw in the ICE facility, but nobody cares anymore. Then you have judges, perhaps like this judge, who felt that she was above the law. That's not going to take place anymore either. Check this out.
Judge, John Yoo, allegedly broke the law. Felony broke the law here.
Trace, I'm afraid those people in Wisconsin and this judge have not read the Constitution. The Constitution says federal law, and that includes immigration law, is the supreme law of the land. State officials, whether they're judges, officers, legislators, have no right to get in the way and deny the enforcement of federal law. Further, state judge doesn't have the right, just like you and I don't have the right, Trace, to pick and choose what federal laws we want to obey and which ones we don't. Mm-hmm. If this judge can harbor an illegal alien who is validly sought for arrest by federal officials, why doesn't she also have the right to conceal Luigi Manzoni, the killer? Why doesn't she have the right to conceal drug dealers and drug cartel mafia members? There's no right of any of us to say we're going to pick and choose which federal laws we're going to obey and which ones not. She has to obey all of them.
What I find fascinating, John, and Garrett Tenney put this on the screen. I want to put it back up there because the sign is still at the courthouse now. And she put this up outside her door at the courtroom and says, if any attorney, witness, coordinator, or other official knows or believes that a person feels unsafe coming to the courtroom, 615, please notify the branch 31 clerk to request court appearance via Zoom. Sounds like
How many supporters of President Trump have felt unsafe wearing a Make America Great Again hat against rabid, maniacal, apoplectic, wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats threatening to take the hat? How many homeowners feel unsafe putting a Trump sign on in their front yard? What does the word unsafe mean? This is a typical. These are euphemisms for. It's a euphemism for if you feel like the state is going to enforce the law, then let me know. If any attorney, witness, a coordinator, or other court official knows or believes that a person feels unsafe coming to the court, meaning that the law is supposed to be enforced. If a person comes to the courthouse and they know that a law is supposed to be enforced, therefore, please notify the court, and then they won't enforce the law. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. What you saw with what she put on Abraham Lincoln is the epitome of liberal democratic politics. Hit subscribe. This is huge.